everyone, it's Nina. Thanks so much for joining me today. Today I have the pleasure of joining Reverse Confetti for their March release, Log Hop, and in this card I'm going to be showcasing one of their brand new stamp sets. So here I've got the Rose Garden stamp set. I just love the beautiful flowers that are included in this stamp set. You can do all sorts of different things. You can either stamp them with regular inks, those solid images, or you could go ahead and use the outlines. That's what I'm going to be using here to do some coloring inside. So to begin with, I want to create some masks. I'm going to be doing some watercoloring and some stamping beforehand, so I need to create some masks for my stamping portion of the card. I'm just using some sticky notes here and I'm stamping them in the top portion of the sticky notes where the sticky part is. You could use larger masking paper or anything like that, but this is what I had handy, so I'm just going to use here. And I'll just go ahead and trim those out with some scissors. Next, I'm going to do some stamping. I'm using Distress inks to do my stamping because I'm going to be using them to also do my watercoloring. I'm going to be stamping them in the lightest colors that I'm using for my watercoloring. So here I've got Abandoned Coral and Twisted Citron for the leaves. And then I'm going to be adding in some mustard seed for these yellow little clustered flowers. And I'll just be stamping these around the larger flowers in my little cluster here. So I'm going to keep continuing adding in some leaves and flowers. I'm going to be doing all of my stamping along the bottom right and top left portions of this card. I'm stamping all of this onto watercolor paper because again I'm going to be doing some Distress ink watercoloring. Distress inks are so much fun to do watercoloring with, and they're also a great substitute to a watercolor medium if you don't have any. So I'm just going to keep adding in my stamped images and using my masks to create layers without having any bulk. This is great for one layer cards. So now that I've got all of my stamping done, I'm going to do all of my watercoloring. This is relatively simple watercoloring. I'm just using the Distress ink colors, and I've got all the colors listed on the side of the screen so that you can easily replicate the combinations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play some music and let you watch me color, and then I will come back once we finish the coloring and begin the next step of the card. Alright, so we finished the main watercoloring portion. I'm just adding in a little bit of a background wash around the flowers and leaves just to kind of add in a little bit more color and give the images a bit more of a grounded appearance. I'm using cracked pistachio here and I'm just fading it out into my paper. I'm using a lot of water to make sure that I get that color nice and faded, and I'm also dabbing it off with my rag. Now for my sentiment, I'm using a stamp set that was released back in February. This is a really cute friendship stamp set, has all sorts of really great sayings, and I have the products listed over at my blog if you're interested in them. I'm trimming the sentiment apart because I want to stamp it in 2 different colors, and I'm stamping it in 2 separate places. So I'm going to be stamping the first portion of the sentiment. This is the smaller portion. I'm going to be stamping this onto black cardstock. I'm lining this up on my grid mat so that way I make sure that I get it nice and straight. You could also use a stamp positioning tool, but I just felt that the stamping block was just easy enough for this. So just apply the embossing powder over top, and then I'll go ahead and heat set that. Next, I'm bringing in some vellum. I'm going to be layering this underneath that little sentiment area, and the other portion of the sentiment I ended up stamping onto some vellum and fussy cutting it out. I just used some gold embossing powder on that portion of the sentiment, so in the end, the sentiment reads, "Your friendship means the world to me." I've popped that vellum and black piece up onto some foam adhesive, and I've attached it down onto my card. I'm going to put some regular adhesive behind this portion of the sentiment, and I will layer this behind the black strip. And this just adds a really nice focal point to the sentiment and gives it a little bit more dimension. Because we had so much coloring going on for this card, I wanted to keep the rest of the card pretty simple. So what I'm doing is I'm popping my panel, this is my watercolor panel, I'm popping this up onto some black craft foam, and I'm going to be attaching this down onto my black card base. I'm going to be putting the card panel onto the card base on one of the corners. I'm going to be using that top right corner. So what I'll do is I'll turn my paper around, and then I will go ahead and line that up along the top right hand side. So now I'm just going to add a little bit of detail with my Wink of Stella glitter brush. I'm going to be adding some glitter on top of my rose. And then finally I'm going to take some pretty pink posh sparkling clear sequins, and I'll just put them around portions of my little scene here. And that's going to do it for me. I hope you've enjoyed. Be sure to stop over at my blog where you can get more information on this card, including the products used. You can also find out more information on the blog hop. And if you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments section below, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. If you enjoyed this video, here's another one you might be interested in featuring watercoloring techniques. Thanks again so much for watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And you can also find me on social media at Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and YouTube. Thanks for watching.